The following program contains content that may disturb some viewers.
Hello and welcome to Four Corners. I'm Sarah Ferguson. 4,000 kilometres northeast of here is a small remote island with a harsh natural environment, infertile soil and limited resources. It's called Nauru, and it's a client state of Australia. Unless something changes, it's also the permanent home for more than 700 refugees, 128 of whom are children. Some of those children were born on Nauru, the rest were sent there with their families by the Australian government. The details of the children's lives have been kept secret from the Australian public. TV crews and journalists are rarely allowed to visit Nauru, and laws were enacted last year which make it a crime punishable by 2 years in jail for doctors, social workers and teachers who work there to speak out. To break through the secrecy, Four Corners had interviews with the children recorded in secret in Nauru and smuggled back to Australia. Like children everywhere, they want simple things, friends, the opportunity to play and to learn. Instead, they describe lives full of anguish and fear. Debbie Whitmont reports.
This is Misbah and Shamim. They've both been recognised as refugees. Shamim, who's 17, has spent 1,090 days in Nauru. For Misbah, who's 13, and has been in detention on Christmas Island and Nauru, it's been 1,179 days. When Shamim first heard she was being transferred to Nauru, she thought it was Norway. She was only 14.
When they told us about you going to Nauru, and then I was like, oh, we're going to Norway, it's so good. Like, Norway is so beautiful. Mom, Granny, why are you crying? We're going to Norway.
But Nauru was a long way from Norway.
And I feel so bad that, I was thinking that we're going to be in Norway, but I'm in Nauru. Where is this place? I never heard in my life this place. Where is Nauru? I feel so bad, and then I feel like they're gonna eat me. I was so young and I was like, Mom, I'm so scared. I feel they will eat me. And my mom, she was crying. She said, don't be so scared. Everything's gonna be fine.
Like Shamim, Misbah fled Myanmar.
In Burma, the Muslim people and Buddhist people are fighting, and the Buddhist people doesn't want Muslim people to stay in Burma. That's why they doesn't like us, so they kill mostly the Muslim people, and they rape the girls, they kill the boys, and they burn the houses.
Misbah left with her mother and 3 sisters. She was only 9. She says there wasn't enough money for her father to come with them, so he planned to follow later.
On the boat, that was so dangerous, and even my little sister, she was crying. She was like, oh, I'm so scared of this swimming pool. She was like, she thought that was a swimming pool. And my mom was crying too. But when we get to Christmas Island, we were so happy that we are here, we are safe, and I was thinking that I will get to meet my father again.
At first, to everyone who met her, Shamim seemed irrepressible.
Oh, she was very talkative. And she was always asking for more work. She wanted to be, an obstetrician. She was very ambitious, very focused on the future, and very, very, happy, bubbly.
At school in the detention centre, Shamim was a star student.
She always sought out
additional support and double-checking and handing in drafts and making sure that she was on the right track. So she had really high hopes for her future and dreams that she could easily have achieved, easily.
Gabby Sutherland, Tracy Donoghue and Jude Reen all spent nearly a year and a half teaching in the school run by Save the Children in the Nauru Detention Centre. Under Australian law, they could go to jail for talking about the children they taught there, but they've decided they have to.
Well, it's death by slow torture. It's just how to... The place is set up to make people go mad or make people die inside.
You know what? Because the harm is permanent. The damage is done for these children. It is done. 3 years of their lives have been spent in the camp. I just want to make sure it doesn't happen to another generation.
At first, despite the fences, the mouldy tents and the 45-degree heat, the teachers were amazed by their students.
I really felt sorry for them in the conditions that they were living in, and then on the other hand was so surprised at how resilient they were. You know, they'd always play little tricks or make funny comments in class. They were cheeky and vibrant. They were so bubbly, and it was hard to contain their enthusiasm.
To get there and find that they were very ambitious and driven, and many of them, prioritised education, that, I was really, as a teacher, certainly at the beginning, that made my job easier and more pleasant.
The school, which had air conditioning, became a refuge from the detention camp.
They needed to get out of the camp to come to school, to get away from that stultifying, traumatic environment. The school was their reprieve. It was their safe place.
It was the one happy place. It was the one safe, happy place in that whole environment. The teachers were kind, they were professional teachers. It got them out of the camp, they weren't intense. They were in a modern environment, a comfortable environment, a secure environment, a nurturing environment.
They were very polite to us, and we were polite to them too. So, it was fantastic school. It was amazing. We were having a very good time, and we feel it was the safest place for us to stay in here.
Outside the school, the children weren't called by their names, but were called by their boat numbers.
They were being treated as criminals. They were going through being detected, metal detected, wandered, on and off the bus at both ends of the school trip.
They know that we have nothing. Still, they're checking every time when we go out and when we come back, every time. So it's also a bad thing in detention center. We're living in detention center, and they do that every day, every single day. They never forget, even though they forget to do something, but they will never forget to make us feel bad.
As the months passed, the teachers saw detention taking its toll on the children.
You could see the light drain out of their eyes. You could see them go flat. You'd just see their morale completely drop, and they'd be physically but not, mentally present. And they'd say, "Teacher, I can't think, I can't concentrate." Eventually we put in an order for some beanbags for a reading corner. Sadly, students would come in, and I just remember one particular girl lying in the beanbag and just weeping for 3 hours.
Shamim stopped asking for extra schoolwork.
She started to get quieter, withdrawing from her peers. She became more withdrawn, contributing less in class, not asking for extension, and when I would offer it to her, she would just say, no, I can't think.
By mid-2014, the teachers were seeing worrying signs of depression.
After they'd been there for like between 8 and 12 months, that's when you started to see kids, hiding their arms. They were beginning to self-harm. These were teenagers that was the only thing they had control of, was their own body. So they were turning in on themselves. They weren't being violent. They were being, they felt like nothing.
And I've known students who would, at times sort of say, over that time that I was there, that 16 months, would say, I would never do that. No matter how bad this gets, I will never self-harm. And just about every student that has said that to me has self-harmed during their time there.
Then in September 2014, the Australian government put out a video message.
My name is Scott Morrison and I'm the Australian Minister for Immigration and Border Protection. You may have heard that temporary protection visas are to be reintroduced. This policy does not apply to those who are on Nauru or on Manus Island or who have been transferred there.
For those in Nauru, it meant any hopes of making it to Australia were crushed.
Processing and resettlement in Australia will never be an option for those who have been transferred to regional processing centres because they have arrived in Australia illegally by boat.
People in Nauru saw it as punishment.
In most of the news, they say that we are criminals and we are not good persons to come in Australia. We feel very sad. Most of the people even think that they'll suicide, and that's better for them than having like this much stress. They just have a small brain and they think too much and it's going to explode.
What is that? Shame on you! What is that? Shame on you! What is that? Shame on you! What is that? Shame on you!
There were mass protests after that, so for the first time, in the life of the school, children stopped coming, especially the older children. They put out their camp beds in the communal area in the camp and just lay out there in protest, not eating.
One of my 17-year-old girl students, she sewed her lips together. There were 2 other students in the school who I knew well. They sewed their lips together.
We went down to the camp a lot and tried to coax them back up to school. We went down and tried to talk them down from the protest.
Come on, you're coming to school. And that was just heartbreaking to see some of our students who had only, a month beforehand been, bright, vivacious, chatty teenagers. If you took them out of the context situation they were in, just like teenagers anywhere around the world, to see them, just to see them looking at you with vacant eyes.
It was like constantly talking people off a ledge, constantly trying to instill some hope, and say, you're worth it. You are important. There are people who need you, love you. You will do something good with your life. You will make a contribution in the future. You are someone. You matter,
Most of us had worked in statutory child protection for at least over 4 years before we came to Nauru. So it was very frustrating for myself and I think for all that we could not do and make real recommendations even though we were highly trained.
Child protection workers like Alyssa Munoz felt powerless.
We were really there to get people through day by day, to get them through to the next day. I have one little girl, which I'll never forget, who I think had just had enough, and there was a chair right on the balcony, and she stood on the balcony, and I came over and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "If I jumped right now, no, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't, who cares?" And so for 10 minutes I spoke to her about how much I would care if she did, and how much her father would care if she did jump. So for that time, I held my hand over in front of her, over the side of the balcony, and what was going through my head, if she jumps, can I grab that back of her? Will I be able to grab her in time? Yeah, I'll never forget that moment. It was, so for about 10 minutes, I'm trying to talk this beautiful, she was only 9, 10 at the time, just not to jump off the balcony of the school. I mean, that's how traumatised these children are.
That was Bertol?
That was Bertol.
What sort of kid was she?
The most vivacious, spirited young little girl I've ever met.
This is Bertol. 2 years later, she's still in Nauru with her father and sister. She's 10.
I think about her all the time. I mean, especially that I still have nightmares of that particular moment, and I still sometimes see her actually jumping.
When Save the Children was in Nauru, we every time go to school, we didn't miss a day, and we loved that school. We had so much fun with them.
She has amazing ambitions and amazing spirit, and I really think that she's destined for great things later as she gets older, because she really understands and gets the world itself, and has great empathy for others as well.
Bertol and her father and sister are Iranian. They've been officially recognised as refugees. Bertol has now spent 976 days in Nauru, nearly a third of her lifetime.
She's so smart. That's what I'd always said, you could run this camp, Bertol. So I worry about the loss of education, huge gaps in education, because that's why I say she's so smart, but I worry that she won't get the opportunities that will, let her reach her full potential.
In Nauru, Gabby Sutherland taught design and technology. She ran cooking classes and pancake days and brought in wood and tools to make boxes. But her most popular project was getting the children to turn the classroom into a cafe. It was supposed to be a one-off.
They had a vote. They had all of these different names and had a vote on the name and called the cafe, or the one-off cafe, the Red Rose Cafe.
The Red Rose Cafe became a regular event run by the children.
They were just so happy. It was just lovely to see the kids, just happy, normal children in a normal environment, which wasn't really a normal environment outside the door.
It was amazing. I feel like that I was having a real cafe. We make cakes, we make coffees, and I work as a waiter in there. The Save the Children provide everything. They make us happy, they bring us hope. Even though they can't do anything, they're just trying to cope with us. And then last time they made a first cafe which called Red Rose, and it was so good. And my friend, she was a manager in there, and it was just extremely feel good.
But in March 2015, the children were told there'd be no more Red Rose Cafe. As people were given refugee status and moved out of the camp, the Australian school was going to be closed. The children were told they'd have to go to schools in the Nauruan community. They were devastated.
We asked them not to close, like we nearly to beg them, but they didn't listen to us. They said, this is the order, you all have to go to Nauruan school.
At around that time, Shamim started to get physically unwell.
She was pale, she said she couldn't eat. having headaches. She had a lump in her chest. She was feeling numb down one side of her body. And then I remember that kind of came to a head. She passed out in camp. So she fainted down in camp.
She was just talking about suicide, talking about self-harm, talking about how hopeless the situation was, and I can remember sitting down with her, and she was just this sadness and hopelessness in her voice, in her face, in her body. It was like she'd given up. And when a child expresses that they want to kill themselves in that environment, you believe them.
At least 7 incident reports around that time document Shamim talking about self-harm and suicide.
I wasn't feeling okay, and it was so bad, and I want to feel the pain which I'm having in my heart, and it's so bad. So I'm just taking it out to have it. But still, when I did it, I didn't have any. It wasn't painful, but I still did it. I wasn't okay, and I just did some stupid things. Maybe just for a while, I forget the feeling pain, so bad. But after the pain from my hand gone, it started back again.
Well, I did one incident report where she came to school and she was all red on her knuckles, and she said that she'd been in the playground, which is an area of camp, at midnight on her own, and that she'd punched a pole. And first I was saying, well, what were you doing in the playground? You shouldn't be in the playground on your own, in the middle of the night. And she said, I do it every night. I go there and cry.
In October 2015, the school was closed. Its air-conditioned classrooms were taken over by Border Force. A small group of different teachers went to the Nauruan schools with the children. Christy Mannell was one of them.
I've travelled a lot, and I've worked in a lot of schools across Asia and Africa, and I still will never get over what I saw at Nauru College. The stench of urine hits you as you walk in, and the toilet, the girls' toilet, is like nothing I've ever seen in my life. One day, the girls said that they just simply couldn't use it. And I walked in, and feces were smeared all over the walls.
It wasn't only the toilets. Many Nauruans simply didn't want the detention centre children at their schools.
The local kids, they tell us that, why did you come here? This is our country. You do not belong here. We hate you guys. One day, me and my friends, our group was sitting at the lunch area and having our lunch, and a boy come and touch us badly and went away. And one of my other friend told them that stop doing that, and they say that we will kill you guys, and they showed a knife to us, and they say that don't come here anymore. This is not your school. This is our school. This is our country. Go from here.
Was there fighting?
I witnessed fighting when I went to one of the schools to speak to the students and the teacher. I witnessed fighting in the yard. I mean, quite violent fighting, students hitting the ground and rolling around, and teachers walking past with no intervention in that. In fact, I was about to intervene, and I was told by another teacher not to.
These pictures were filmed a few months ago outside Nauru College. The white shirts are school uniforms.
They fight very badly and sometimes even blood come out. And I was so scared that they fight like this. They were both Nauruans and they were fighting, they were punching each other and even the blood came out. So we were so scared.
Yeah, physical fights are constant. Yes, definitely. Often between boys, Nauruan kids, it's quite a violent culture. I even saw an attempted murder when I was on Nauru with a machete. So much violence reigns among the adults, and as such the children pick up on that, and that's a way that they solve their problems.
So what sort of things happen in the school?
So children would solve their problems through fights on a regular basis.
I really wanted to learn. I really wanted to be an educated person, so I always try my best to go to school. But I did try in here too. I did try my really best to go to school, but I don't feel safe in there.
When a boy trapped her in the toilets and the teacher did nothing, Shamim stopped going to school.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling good and the teachers were like so bad with me. They were just discriminating and the other students too. And we didn't study nicely, like they didn't have teachers or anyone. So it was bad, and that accident what happened in the toilets and everything, it makes me so bad. And after, like, I'm getting more sick and I'm vomiting every day, and it's so hard for me to go there and study.
10-year-old Bartol has stopped going to school. She left this phone message for her former teachers.
The reason I'm not going to school because I don't feel safe there. I am scared. Children are scaring us with their knife. When I grow up, I want to be a vet. How can I be a vet when I'm not going to school? So what we can do? I want to go to school. No one cares. My father cares.
Amnesty International's Anja Neistat interviewed refugee children and their families in Nauru in July.
No matter how horrible the detention was and the conditions in detention were, quite a few families and children themselves told me that now that they're in the community, they feel less safe because they're subjected to attacks from the local population. And of course, they simply cannot go to school because there as well, they are subjected to attacks. And there is absolutely nothing being done about this by the authorities.
Navid and Hossein are Iranian. They and their families were among the first to be recognised as refugees and released from detention. Both of them have now spent more than 1,100 days in Nauru.
You know, like everyone else in my age, we've got a dream. And my dream is to study medicine and end up being a surgeon, you know. But unfortunately, I can't do it here. Even I'm trying the most by getting to my pathway, but unfortunately, that's not possible. The studies here are not possible.
My goal is to become a psychologist in future, and make my mom proud.
We went to school. We've tried. We did university studies. They're all useless. You know, like even the certificate that they gave us, it's not a real certificate, or it's nothing.
Most of the time, Navid and Hossein just stay home.
Even as young men, they're afraid to go outside after 10 at night.
People in my age, not only me, like everyone here, are really scared to get out of their accommodation at late nights because they're scared if someone would attack them or threaten them or like how can I say it, or rape them. Like many girls won't go outside in evenings either, like alone. Like we should take our family, like the female part of our family, outside for shopping, even shopping. You know, there's, you know, you don't know what will happen.
People throw stones. There's wild dogs. If you're a small person like Shamim is, for example, there are large packs of wild dogs that just roam the island, and it's not a safe space to be operating in on a daily basis, physically or emotionally. You see scary things, and you're not safe.
Between Nauruans, public fighting is par for the course. Now that refugees have moved into the community, they've become targets for violence.
We are not talking about minor incidents. We're talking about attacks with machetes, people being hit with metal bars, people being thrown off their motorcycles, thrown off the cliffs, people sustaining very serious injuries as a result. But what's even worse is that there is absolutely no response. All of these attacks are being perpetrated with complete impunity.
Amid the everyday violence, refugee victims aren't a priority for the police.
They're out for their own purposes. There's no incentive for the police to help the asylum seeker population at all.
Navid and Hussein and their families have been hospitalised from punches, pushed off rocks and robbed. They've complained to the police, but the police haven't laid charges.
I think it's safe to say in virtually none of the cases there has been any action when a refugee or an asylum seeker was attacked or assaulted, and a Nauruan was brought to justice for that.
On the 26th of April, Omid Masumali, a 24-year-old Iranian who'd been recognised as a refugee and was a friend of Navid and Hussein's, set himself on fire. Hussein was nearby.
You know, unfortunately, at the time when Omid self-immolated himself, I was present there. And not only me, there were small kids present at the moment. And, you know, like, compared to the kids, you know, I can really control myself in many things, but they can't. They were present when Omid self-immolated himself, and after that incident, many kids, they were affected mentally, that they were crying at the night, like they were seeing nightmares. You know, they were talking about the incidents among the children. You know, it's not a really good thing to experience when you're a child.
Hussein blames himself for not being able to stop it happening.
You know, by seeing someone self-immolating himself in front of you, it's not a little thing. I can say that. Or self-harming, or trying to do horrible stuff in their body. You know, it's not an easy thing to cope with it, you know?
Some people say, though, that he did it to try and come to Australia. What do you say to that?
He did it because he was tired from here. You know?
What's the point of coming to Australia with a burned body?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the point of this? Like,
why should he do that to go to Australia?
Like, is it worth it? like to do that, to come to Australia? No, I don't think so.
Nauru Hospital wasn't equipped to treat Omid's burns. It took 26 hours for Omid to be medevaced to Australia, where he died.
You know, when people came here, they were patient. I can say that. Like, I was patient. My family was patient. But right now, even we got trouble at home. You know, the patience that we've got, it's demolished. And not only my family, everyone is like that. No one is patient anymore. They're just waiting for a sparkle to explode. You know, I can describe it like that. Not to do big things, like inside our family. Like, you know, situations in the families are really bad, and it's something that unfortunately I can't explain it.
And
you have to see it.
It's getting worse and worse. Like, it's getting worse every day. Like, they can't. I see that people can't take this anymore. Really.
I try my best to be strong. I try. My mom tries to make us happy. We always keep ourselves busy. We try our best to keep ourselves busy, and we don't go out much because we don't want something to happen to us, and we feel very sad about it. We don't want that. That's why we stays in our home.
At 13, Misbah has spent nearly a quarter of her life in Nauru. She's now a recognised refugee, but she's too afraid to go to school, fears she'll never see her father again, and she and her sisters mostly stay home for their safety.
We ran away from Burma because of the raping things in Burma that's happening to the girls, and burning houses and stealing. And we came to Australia. We tried to get to Australia, but now we are here. The same thing happening: raping, stealing, killing. I've seen people. Now people died. Some people burned themselves. Some people take too much medicine and died. And some people say that they get harm from. The Nauruan tried to harm them, to hurt them, and many other things like stealing, raping. I have heard many things like that.
Misbah wants to go home, but her mother says they can't.
I really want to go back because I think that in here having stress, better we go back to home. I asked my mom that let's go back, but she said no, it's not possible. If we go back, we will get killed. And I was like, why, Mom? Even we are dying in here every day, so why not we just not die one day? Let's just go back. So she was like, no, we can't go back like that.
You want to make up the end of the story?
Yeah.
When Gabby Sutherland first got back to Australia and got sad messages from Bartol, she wasn't sure what to do. She decided to give Bartol a cyber school.
They are best friends forever and ever.
Best friends forever and ever. That's a lovely story. We'd book in at a certain time, so I'd say, meet me online, and she would message me 10 minutes before, I've got my books and I've got my pencil and I'm ready to go.
They're still doing it.
Was she happy to wait for a long, long time?
She was really sad, but she was sitting down, watching the waves go up and down, up and down, up and down.
In her 3 years in Nauru, Shamim has been recognised as a refugee. But she finds it hard to still have any hope for the future.
They didn't accept us, but why now? Why now? They just, whenever we are happy, they just make it sad and bad and everything. Why? You shouldn't be happy. You can't illegally be sad and be like that. This is so hard for us. Already it's been so long.
When I met Shamim, she was highly charismatic, kind-hearted, ambitious and intelligent young woman. She was very, very popular and beloved. Everybody liked her. She witty, caring, and she knows 5 languages, right? She's such a brilliant young person with so much potential and much ambition. At the time, she spoke about wanting to be a doctor. She was a great kid.
But by the middle of last year, Shamim was at the top of the list of the detention centre's most vulnerable children.
I don't know, I'm sick emotionally, physically, everything. Mentally, it's not even only me, everyone. You can come and see in here. Every single person is sick, even though not physically, but they are just break by emotionally. Everyone is break.
Last October, when the Australian school closed and the teachers left, they were worried, especially about Shamim.
Shamim has said on many occasions and with increasing frequency over the past 6 months, I have no hope, I don't want to be here, I can't go on.
In the case of Shamim, she just wants somebody to give her a proper diagnosis. Help me. And she cuts herself because she's so frustrated.
Since February, Gabby Sutherland has been asking the Department of Immigration to urgently medivac Shamim to Australia for medical attention. But nothing has happened. 2 weeks ago, Shamim left this message for her former teachers.
I'm not feeling okay, that's why I haven't been replied to you guys. I'm so sorry for it. I'm not well, so I'm really sorry that I've seen your messages, but I haven't been replied to any of them.
I worry about all of them, where they're going to, when's this going to end? And if it takes much longer, that, certain people won't be able to keep holding on.
Early next year, Shamim will turn 18. After 3 birthdays in Nauru, she says she just wants that next one to be a happy day.
Don't care what country it is, but I just want to study good and have a good time and healthy and safety and happy. Not too much happy, not every happiness from the world, just a small piece from those every happiness. We just want to make good friends and have a good times like everyone's in other country who is safe, have in their home sweet home and staying there and studying and playing, everything. I just want to be the same person like everyone.
Negotiations by the Australian government to find an alternative home for the children have so far failed. In the meantime, according to the Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, the well-being of refugees on Nauru is the responsibility of the Nauruan government, not Australia. Next week, cop watchers, the citizens holding trigger-happy US police forces to account on the streets of America. See you then. If the material covered in this story has raised any issues of concern for you, you can contact one of these services.